LA is still burning, so let's talk about some sustainable materials that actually work. But first, what are a few that don't work? One that I've talked about is recycled polyester. This is a material that a lot of bigger, especially like sportswear brands like Patagonia and Nike, they promote as green, right? They're like, oh, we use recycled polyester. Well, when you recycle plastics like polyester, it offsheds microplastics into our water stream, into the ocean, and then into our bodies. We haven't figured out how to not offshed yet. The ocean is already filled with thousands of tons of microplastics. We really don't want to contribute to that problem. Another so called material that people seem to feel good about is vegan leather, which is a fancy term for plastic for the most part. There is one type of vegan leather that is sustainable, and I will discuss that near the end. So, three types of sustainable materials I want to talk about today. One is dead stock. That is excess fabric that is like left over from mass produced garment manufacturers. If you think about it, garment factories have to order a ton of fabric for making thousands and millions of t-shirts or pants or shirts. And inevitably, they're going to have leftover fabric that is perfectly good and that they then throw into the landfill. Sometimes this fabric might have a few damages at the edges and imperfections, and therefore cannot be fed into the machines to make 3,000 pants or something. But again, they usually just go to landfill. Now, sustainable designers are buying that dead stock and using it to make clothes. Sustainable designers are able to do this because they tend to be small batch productions. If you're buying dead stock, you could just have like 3 bolts of one type of fabric, or you could have 300 bolts, right? But sustainable designers have that nimbleness, that flexibility, because they might say, okay, well, if I have 3 bolts, I'm going to make 10 of these garments, right? I don't need to make 10,000 of these garments. And I'll make like a one of a kind collection. Or if I do have, in fact, 300 bolts, then I'll do, something else with it. A related sustainable material is fabric scraps. So when you're making a garment, you're going to be cutting the fabric, and there will be like scraps of fabric left over that fall onto the cutting room floor. Usually all of these scraps of fabrics, these bits and pieces from the cutting, just go into the trash. Now, sustainable designers are also using these bits and pieces, making like patchwork like jackets or two-tone clothes, beautiful pieces. Again, you kind of have to work with what you have, right? Because you're not getting like a big stock of like one big bolt of fabric or material that you're using. There is an incredible nonprofit, very large nonprofit organization in Brooklyn called Fab Scraps, where they go around New York and they collect all that commercial fabric scrap waste and sort it. They also take donations, and then anyone can go and take these fabric scraps and make things out of it. So they're awesome. When I was teaching at Pratt, teaching sustainable fashion at Pratt Institute in New York, I had a few students who now run their own labels using fabric scraps and dead stock to make beautiful garments and scarves, accessories, etc. This is the concept of upcycling. So you're not just like recycling one plastic bottle into another plastic bottle. You are taking what would be waste, again, scrap material, and turning them into a different product, into a different, beautiful, functional product. The third sustainable material I want to talk about is not one, it is a resource library in Midtown Manhattan called Material Connection. So that library displays all of the most innovative materials on the market today, and you can see samples of them and you can touch them. They are for all industries. It's not just the apparel industry. So you'll have designers come in from Nike, from BMW, just to check out like what are the latest innovations. I believe the Material Connection has like warehouses elsewhere because there's so much new materials coming out that they only house like display a certain quantity of the newest ones. A few that I've seen and loved, for instance, are like a kitchen tile made out of old denim. Just like beautiful. And in my Fashion on Fire episode, I'd spoken about how denim is one of the most toxic materials to produce in the apparel industry. So it is just incredible to have all this incredible use for old denim. Another material I love is mushroom grown leather. That is a kind of vegan leather that is sustainable because if it's processed correctly, it decomposes entirely. Mushrooms are just incredible organisms in general. I was just reading a book on mushroom dyes where you can use various varieties of mushroom to create all the colors of the rainbow, like brilliant hues. So we've got dead stock, fabric scraps, and Material Connection, the library. Check it out when you're in New York next time.